All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Thursday, September 19th. We got a 12-game MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays, like player props, that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment for all of my final plays. That is where I enter them as I place them myself. In terms of last night, nothing terrible, nothing great. It's not too bad. We're not going to write home about it, anything like that. We go 2-2. The Twins, Guardians, first 5 under. That cashes for us. The Red Sox money line at plus money, half unit play, though, that cashes. We got our losses. Red Sox did not hit their team total over, and the Pirates, Cardinals, I believe, scored 6 runs through their first 5. So like I said, a 2-2 night, nothing that is going to kill us or put a damper on what has been an amazing MLB season thus far. Speaking of amazing, what an amazing call from Mike here with the ride of the day. He had the first 5 under in the Jays and Rangers game. You could have taken that first 5 under and made that the full game line, and it still would have hit the under, as that was a super low scoring game. We liked that play. We talked about it in yesterday's video as well, but shout out to Mike for that ride of the day hitting. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it is simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments, and I jump on board with one person's play and give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to ride with your plays. If you lose, we still get a shout out, but we got to talk about the loss right now. I think YouTube's been a little finicky with hashtags in the comments lately. So if you're watching this, and I think moving forward, we'll just maybe put it in all caps so it stands out, but just say ride of the day with no hashtag, or ROTD with no hashtag, because I think a lot of the comments are getting like hidden because they have a hashtag. Maybe YouTube thinks it's spam, something like that. So just use ride of the day and ROTD in all caps so that we can kind of see it there. But looking forward to seeing what Mike throws our way today. Let's go ahead and jump into this slate. Actually, before we do, we have a bunch of football content coming out and 2 videos already live right now. We have H to H, the head-to-head show that I do with Tassos. That came out yesterday. Then also what came out yesterday is my Thursday Night Football Picks video. So make sure to go check those out on the channel as well. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, guys, and let's get rocking here. We got Baltimore taking on San Fran as game number 1. On the mound is going to be Zach Eflin, who has been quite the pitcher as of late. He's got a 1.2 ERA in his last 5 starts, averaging over 6 innings pitched per start, striking out over 6 per start, and less than 1 walk per game he's averaging here. So the dude has been pitching very, very well, going up against Logan Webb, who is obviously a big name, but really has not been pitching all that well. Near 4 ERA in his last 5 starts here. He's still pitching somewhat deep, like 6 innings or so, but usually that's a guy that can eat some innings, right? But he's getting hit up. 7 hits per game here, allowing nearly a home run per game, pitching 20 pitches per inning in his last couple. It's like Logan Webb has not been pitching all that well. I wanted to get to San Francisco today because I don't think there's much of an offensive advantage for Baltimore, even though you might think that so, but their offense hasn't been all that great last 30 days, right? And Logan Webb's pitch mix actually looks pretty good. He's going to throw a lot of changeup, a lot of sinkers, and Baltimore, not exactly pitches that they love to hit. But overall, I just don't know if I can fully trust Webb as of late. So I wanted to get to San Francisco. I kind of even looked at it and said, hey, screw it. Should we send it with a plus 130 play on San Francisco? But multiple factors here. Eflin pitching his effing ass off. And then you have the fact that the Giants won the first 2 games of the series. It would not surprise me if Baltimore wins one of these, because I don't expect them to get swept at home by this Giants team. So I'm going to lean towards Baltimore here on the money line. In terms of bullpen, it's weird. On the season, their bullpen ERA rank is just like bottom 3rd, right? They have a top 10 whip ranked bullpen. So it is kind of weird. These bullpens, because we've seen the volatility of Baltimore's, probably even, but I think Baltimore may have the pitching advantage and then slight bat advantage here. So I'm going to lean towards the full game money line. In terms of a total, the way Eflin's been pitching, I could see an under. Maybe this is one where we go first 5 under. Again, we've been dynamite with looking at first 5 unders, and I explained why in yesterday's video. It's like, well, we get to just isolate a lot of variables that we'd have to be throwing in. Like I just talked about the volatility of a bullpen, right? Well, first 5 under, we can just say, hey, Logan Webb, please return to form, right? And then let's see Zach Eflin continue to pitch how he's been pitching. 2 good starters against 2 meh offenses right now. First 5 under 4.5. Sounds decent to me. All right, we got Cleveland taking on Minnesota next here. Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound for Minnesota, going up against Joey Cantillo for the Guardians. Yesterday's game ends in a 5-4 win for Cleveland. Now, they did have to come back and win this one. I think they scored, 3 runs in extras to Minnesota's 2. So this was a game that went to extras yesterday. And I think that we could see another spot in which it's a close game, spot, I'm going to kind of lean towards the team that has the better pitcher on the mound. So Cantillo's been really good at home this season. Simeon Wood Richardson's been a little iffy on the road, and I guess you could say iffy as of late, but I still do believe he is the better pitcher. He has more, innings under his belt this season for sure as well. So, I'm going to lean towards Minnesota. I leaned that way yesterday, and we got that wrong, obviously, right? But for plus money, I still think that these two teams are fairly even. So it's the same spiel that I've been giving all series long. It's like, for plus money, these two teams seem like it's a 50-50 type of a spot. Minnesota was plus 120 in game number one. In game number two, right? They cashed that. Cleveland was plus money in game number one. They cashed that. I've just been leaning towards the plus money team all series long, and Minnesota is that today. So I'm going to go in that direction. I had the first 5 under yesterday, but we don't have Bybee and Ober on the mound today, right? So we have Cantillo and Woods Richardson. So I'm going to lean towards the over in this spot, not looking at, a pitching duel between two great pitchers like we saw yesterday. I think Ober went for like 7 innings, 7 1/3 maybe. 7 innings at least, right? I don't think he came out again. And then Bybee only pitched 1 out less than him. So 2 good pitching yesterday. I don't necessarily think we have that today. Now Woods Richardson is coming off of a spot in which he pitched I want to say 3 innings or something. So he got hit up by Cincinnati, hoping kind of can snap back into form for this Minnesota bet. But if he doesn't, kind of helps the over side of things. You know what I mean? So don't necessarily mind it if he has a mad game, because that means the over might be more likely to hit. And speaking of the over, guys, you got to head over to Sleeper and check out these free squares that they are dropping and hit the over on them. How many times can we say over? Well, I don't know. We'll know when this is over. Got it there, right? But anyways, guys, Sleeper, if you don't know what it is, it's an amazing player prop app. You can combine 2 or more players into a slip. The more you win, the more you get paid out, like I always tell you guys. But what I love about Sleeper is a few things. They offer more discounted and free squares than anyone out there. You're also going to get your first deposit matched up to $100, 100% with the link in the pinned comment. And also, each and every play that you throw into your slip is going to change the payout dynamically. So it doesn't just follow a fixed payout structure of 2 for 2 is this, 3 for 3 is this. No, each and every play you throw into your slip will change the payout, which is great because they have these free squares, but they keep their original payout multiplier. So go ahead and check it out, guys. Each slip in terms of their payout ends up being unique. Really, really is cool. Kind of mimics more of a, normal sports book. So go check out Sleeper, guys. That link is in the pinned comment. It's going to auto apply the code and everything like that. Stop sleeping on Sleeper. And now this promotion of Sleeper is over. See, we said over a bunch. Let's go ahead and jump back into the rest of these games. But go ahead and check out Sleeper, guys. Honestly, I've used Sleeper for a couple of years now. One of my favorite player prop apps out there. When they do those discounts, tons of value. All right, Cincinnati taking on Atlanta. On the mound for Cincinnati is going to be Julian Aguilar going up against the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Sale here. Now, we are in a very run-friendly ballpark. I keep saying that. Yesterday, the Atlanta Braves win 7-1. They lose game number 1, 6-5, but they bounce back yesterday in a 7-1 performance there. I'm never going to fade Chris Sale until, it's apparent that we should, and it really has not been apparent that we should. The dude has a sub-1 ERA over his last 5 starts here on the season. He's looking fantastic as well, a 2.35 ERA on the road. He's been just as good. And this is a Cincinnati team that really struggles against lefties. And what I always say is I only consider Cincinnati when they're facing a guy that throws a lot of fastballs. Well, Chris Sale does throw a decent amount of fastballs, but his number 1 pitch is the slider. It does happen that Cincinnati hits that fairly well, but it's a Chris Sale slider. This ain't no, your everyday slider, right? So I can't get to the Cincinnati side of things. I don't think I'm going to be, stomaching the minus 200 odds for Atlanta, especially with, the prize gem being their pitcher in a non-really pitcher-friendly ballpark. But it's still the direction that I'd have to lean into if I had a gun to my head. Maybe this is some sort of a parlay throw-in. Like, I could see a Braves and a Dodgers parlay or something like that and seeing what those odds get us. So let me know in the comments if you think that Braves-Dodgers parlay is a good idea. Essentially, just taking 2 massive favorites today and plopping them in a parlay together. But, yeah, I'm not as, just hear me out. I'm not saying go bet the Reds for plus 180 though, but I'm not as confident in Sale in this position as I normally am with him in almost any other position. So if that helps you tread lightly, I think that might be the move, but I could still see them as a parlay throw in there. Total sitting at 8.5. Again, Chris Sale in mind, I'd lean towards the under. The way that this ballpark can play, I'd lean the over, so I'm kind of split there, but I'll trust Sale in this spot. Give me the Braves as well as the under, but again, the way that I play it is not worrying about run line or like that. It's probably considering Braves in a parlay, if you have not heard me say that 3 times already. All right, Texas taking on Toronto. Like I said, low-scoring game yesterday. It was 2-0 here. Texas does get the win. How much different was that than the first game? Very different. A 13-8 win for Texas in game number 1 here, but this thing could flip on its side. You have Kevin Gausman on the mound, who obviously is a very good pitcher. Hasn't had the best of seasons, we can admit that. Has looked a little bit better. As of late, his ERA is down by 2 for his last 5 starts, so good for him. So it's at 2.2, maybe 1.9 or something like that. Going up against Kumar Rocker, who has an amazing name. Not a pitcher that I know too much about, and I'm the first one to tell you guys when I don't know too much about a guy. I think this is his first major league start, or second major league start. His first one was against Seattle, which is not the best of offenses, right? So I think he has a reason in store for a little bit more offense today, especially after Toronto scores, what was it, 8 runs, then 0 runs. Like, I think this game they get somewhere in between there. So I'm going to lean towards Toronto. I think you have Kevin Gausman, who's actually been a little bit better on the road and better as of late so far. So you have the better pitcher. You have what I would deem the better offense. I don't know about the bullpen. Like, Texas's bullpen isn't that great, but Toronto's is pretty damn crappy as well. So maybe this is a spot in which we can lean towards a potential play for Toronto's team total over 3.5. Right now, that's minus 115 on ESPN. Like, I think that's a good spot. Like I said, 0 runs yesterday, 8 runs the day before. Like, I think today they kind of find their level and go right in the middle. This is an offense that has been batting fairly well last 30 days, right? So it's probably where I end up. Maybe Toronto team total. We don't have to worry about the pitching, but I don't mind them on the first 5 money line either. Right now, first 5 money line, it looks like you're going to get plus money for them. So maybe we split a half unit. First 5 money line, and then full game team total over 3.5. Seems like it could be a spot that we kind of target there. Looks like it's going to be great conditions as well. So total wise, I'm probably just sticking to that Toronto spot overall. Like, I think that's probably a better look than anything else. And from the limited sample size that we have from Rocker, which again, I hate to fade a guy with a cool name like that. He throws a lot of sliders. Well, Toronto, number 1 team in the league last 30 days at hitting that slider. Number 7 at hitting his number 2 pitch, the fastball. So hopefully Toronto has a good game today. But if we saw anything yesterday, we're asking for a lot. But I think that they returned to form a little bit more. All right, Seattle taking on the Yankees, 11-2 win for the Yankees in game 1. A little bit different, 2-1 win for the Yanks in game number 2 there. I don't know if you guys saw that play with J-Rod on third base. I think it was Arozarena. I don't know who was up for Seattle, but he swung and his bat slipped out of his hands and it flew at J-Rod, who was on third base, and he got out of the way and dodged the bat from hitting him, but he kind of ran away from the base, and then they just threw it to third base and tagged him out. It was embarrassing, but like, what are you going to do, right? A bat's coming flying at you. He just reacted. But in this spot here, we have Clark Schmidt on the mound for the Yanks going up against Logan Gilbert. Logan Gilbert and this team, when he pitches, has not been like much to write home about in the last 5 starts. So he's got a 3.2 ERA over his last 5, which, isn't terrible, but he has a 6-inning, 0 earned run game in there, so it kind of brings it down. Outside of that, 4 of his last 5 starts, he's allowed 6 runs, 4 runs, 2, which is decent, and a 10 strikeout performance against St. Louis, and then a 4-run game against Texas. So he's been kind of a mixed bag as of late. Now, obviously, the dude is an absolute stud. He's averaging nearly 9 strikeouts per game in his last 5 starts here. So got to give him credit there. Clark Schmidt's been decent on the road, which is crazy to say for any Yankees pitcher here. He's got a 1 flat ERA in his last 5. So I think this is probably a spot in which I say, you know what, I've been leaning Seattle all series long. We might just do it one more time. Let's trust the pitch. We saw a low-scoring game. Logan Gilbert, let's get back to what you are and what you were, and let's kind of get a win here for Seattle, because, again, they've lost both games so far in the series, and though the Yankees are an offensive powerhouse, like, winning 2-1, like, I feel like that's a Seattle game to win, right? If you were to say this is going to be a 3-run game, you'd probably end up saying, well, that was going to be a Seattle win. 11-2, yes, you can guess which team scored 11, right? But a 2-1 finish, Seattle probably should have had that one, but you know what? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Doesn't really work in sports or sports betting. In terms of the total here, this is another one where I might consider a first 5 under. I don't mind the full game under either, but it's sitting at 7. That just seems super, super low to me. And though I want this to be somewhat low scoring, because I think that gives Seattle a better chance of winning, right? I don't think that 7 full game is all that much, has much value. Right now, minus 150 on ESPN, still really juicy for the first 5 under 4.5. But we have Schmidt and, Logan Gilbert, who should be able to do their job. The thing that could keep me off of this is probably the idea, and same thing for all the plays we talked about in this game. the idea that the Yankees offense is really good. You know what I mean? Like, could they just go out there and say, hey, let's score double-digit runs again? They've been a little inconsistent, but, you know, who am I to say? They just scored 11 runs 2 days ago. So I like the first 5 under as well as Seattle on the money line, but Yankees could kind of scare me away from that play. All right, Dodgers taking on Miami. Kind of talked about this one slightly, right, in terms of what we like here. The Dodgers bounced back yesterday, 8-4 win over Miami. I'm still having nightmares about people hating on the LA pick in game number 1, as if I was going to expect the Marlins to score 11 runs. Like, if you were to tell me, we're talking game 1 a couple days ago, I get it, but if you were to say, hey, the Dodgers go out there and score 9 runs, did they beat the Marlins? I would have told you 100 times out of 100. You know what I mean? But no, Miami does win that game number 1. Now we have a little bit different of a story. We have Jack Flaherty on the mound here, going up against, I think it's Cabrera for Miami. Should be a good spot. Now, this Miami offense, some of their numbers are skewed based on some of their high-scoring games, but still is not a bad offense against righties here. But this is Jack Flaherty. I expect him to kind of return to form. He didn't have the best of starts last time out. It was against Atlanta, who, again, the way we play this is probably doing like an LA and Atlanta parlay and seeing what we can get there. In fact, as I even think about it, Jack Flaherty and the Dodgers going up against a mediocre team. It's Chris Sale and the Braves going up against a, I guess you could say, mediocre team. Like, that parlay is starting to sound better and better and better. But Jack Flaherty, for what it's worth, now he was on, I want to say, St. Louis when these starts happen. Again, these are just little fun facts. They don't matter. It was a few years ago, but his last 2 starts against Miami, obviously a lot of different players on both teams, he hasn't allowed a run. So either he's due to have a bad game against Miami or he owns their ass. So I'm hoping it's the latter, and I'm hoping that he owns them because I like the idea of him going out there pitching well and cashing that leg of the parlay. Now, the total is sitting at 8 right now. I think Jack Flaherty has a good game, so I'd probably only play this as a Dodgers team total over or a Marlins team total under, if that makes sense. I think we have 2 passing ships in the night doing 2 different things today. I don't think that I want either one of them. You know, like, I don't want to have to bet on the Dodgers to kind of have to suppress themselves to catch the under, and I also don't want to take that over 8 and hope that the Marlins do their part. All right, Rays taking on the Red Sox. Littell on the mound for the Rays, going up against Brian Bayo for the Red Sox. I think both these pitchers are going to be able to get through 3 outs fairly well. Who knows what the rest of the game has in store, but yeah, I'm going to lean towards the Nerfy as probably my main play in this game. I don't love the idea of a full game under, especially when we just saw a 2-1 game. It's like a little bit too low scoring. I could see some, bounce back from both teams, even though the offenses have been a little shaky. But yeah, 3 outs per pitcher here. I don't mind the spot, so I'm going to lean towards the Nerfy. In terms of a money line play, I want to say Red Sox because I'm a little bit biased, if you couldn't tell. I don't know if I can get there if they're not plus money. Right now, they're at minus 104 as your best value. If this had a plus sign next to it, just like yesterday, it was just plus 100, I think I would be Red Sox. I think that anyone could win this game, especially with the pitchers on the mound. Tampa Bay's bullpen's better than the Red Sox, so maybe it'd be a first 5 play. But we thought that yesterday. I sent it with the money line, and they ended up winning 2-1, right? So if we could catch a plus money spot for the Sox, I'd lean in that direction. But if not, I'm probably either off of it or I guess I would lean Rays. But I like that Nerfy as one of the main plays here. I think that both these teams, their offenses haven't been all that great, especially not to start the games. And if we could look at, Littell going out there and getting 3 outs, Bayo going out there and getting 3 outs. I do like that. They've both teams in 5 straight games have had no runs in the first inning. So knock on wood, I like that play again. All right, Milwaukee taking on Arizona. Arizona coming off of a win, but they lose that series against Colorado. Milwaukee coming off a winning series against Philadelphia, and they did it multiple ways. They win 6-2 in game 1. They lose 5-1 in game 2, but then they win a grinded out type game 2-1 yesterday. So give Milwaukee a little bit of credit there. They've won 6 of their last 10. The way that I first jumped to this one is kind of liking the over. I could see this being a 5-4 game at minimum. I'm also going to lean towards the Diamondbacks team total over 3.5. Going up against Tobias Myers, he throws a ton of fastballs, decent amount of cutters, sliders, but he is a right-handed pitcher. And Arizona, I guess it doesn't matter if you're a lefty or righty lately. They're crushing you, with the exception, I guess, of that Colorado series. But we saw the damage they could do yesterday. The one thing I'll say, this is just not a great spot, traveling from Colorado, the elevation there, and then going to Milwaukee. It's like maybe not the best spot for Arizona, but overall, I don't really mind it. Milwaukee's been waiting at home since yesterday, but for them to score runs, as long as they have their A lineup out there, I could see this happening, and it looks like they do have their A lineup out there. Now, money line wise, I think that this could be an Arizona spot. You have a lot of lefties in that lineup. We're talking Carroll, Peterson, McCarthy. I want to say Marte is going to be hitting from the left side. You have Perdomo, their 9-hitter, in the left side. So tons of lefties. I think they only have like 2 or 3 righties today, which Tobias Myers is a very, very good pitcher against the righties, not very good against the lefties. So yeah, I think that we could see him get a little got today. But again, Brendan Pfaadt on the mound for the Diamondbacks. I don't want to put all my eggs in his basket. So the way I do it is, yes, I would lean Arizona money line, but I'm probably more likely to just lean towards their team total over and then the full game over here. Pfaadt has a 5 flat ERA in his last 5. No bueno. All right, we got the Mets taking on the Phillies here. On the mound for the Mets, we just had it up here. I think it's Luis Severino going against Taijuan Walker. This Mets team, continues to look pretty good now. This is probably one of the tougher tasks that they've had as they played Washington. But they just played the Phillies before this, right, in Philadelphia. They did lose 2 of those 3 games, but now they're at home. I think you have a pitching advantage with the Mets. I want to say you have an offensive advantage, but the Mets offense, like I said, has looked good. But is that just like recency bias, like 10 runs in 2 straight games against Washington? Before that, it was 2, 1, 4. They did score 11 there, 6 games ago. But overall, like, I'm still not convinced we have a good Mets offense. But I guess the saving grace is Taijuan Walker this season has been pretty dreadful. He's looked really bad in his last 5 starts. He looked bad on the season, bad on the road, any way you want to cut it up. So this is probably a spot in which you're getting a fair price at -140 for the Mets. Hopefully Severino can go out there and pitch well. He's been pitching fairly well. He had one of his worst using that like lightly against the Phillies last time out, and it was still only a 6 innings pitched performance with 3 earned runs. 2 home runs led to those runs too. So it's like, if he just doesn't let up the deep ball, he should be okay. So I'm going to lean towards the Mets here in this spot. I don't know if I trust Taijuan Walker to keep this team down. So I think the Mets probably score 5-ish runs, especially scoring 10 back-to-back. So maybe it's a Mets team total over, or we look at the full game over. I don't think 8 runs is all that high for these 2 squads. And guys, before we do move on to the next game, if you wouldn't mind commenting 22, letting me know that you made it this far into the video, because you're now 22 minutes into the video. Appreciate the hell out of you guys that do that. And like I tell you all the time, you probably get bored of me ranting about it, but it really does mean a lot to know that someone's sitting through this annoying voice over here and this craziness for 22 minutes. Seriously, appreciate the heck out of that. So go ahead and comment 22 if you made it this far into the video. We got 3 games left. Let's kick it. We have St. Louis, Eric Fetty on the mound going up against Pittsburgh with Luis Ortiz on the mound. Right now, St. Louis is actually -130, so I know the graphics is -142, but it's moved a lot here. They've won 3 straight games, and honestly, like, none of which have been super close against this Pirates team in this series. So I like St. Louis again. I don't mind Fetty in this spot, but are they really going to 4-game sweep the Pirates? They definitely can. They kind of got through the worst of it, right? They go and beat Skeens, which is kind of the hard part, and then they had Falter, Woodford, and now they're going to have Luis Ortiz, who hasn't been pitching all that terribly, but not all that great either. Eric Fetty has been a little bit more consistent, so I lean St. Louis, but the thing that probably keeps us from being a final play is the fact that we're looking at a 4-game sweep in the face here, and that just happens so rarely that Pittsburgh probably ends up pulling this one out. In fact, you can get them for +120 right now on ESPN. Might not be the worst of spots, but they are worse than the St. Louis team for sure, so I don't think I can get to Pittsburgh. I just think that sweep spot isn't a great reason, is a great reason to not bet the Cardinals as well. So you might be sticking away from this one. Total sitting at 8. I don't mind the under. We've seen 2 so far. 2 of these games go under. Yesterday's game, 10-5. That went soaring over. We lost the first 5 in that one, right? They scored 6 runs in the first 5. But I don't mind an under in this spot. Neither one of these offenses is all that threatening or terrifying either. All right, Cubs, Washington. I think we do have updated odds for this one. Cubs sitting right around the -161 right now. The total is at 8.5. You have Javier Assad on the mound for the Cubs going up against Patrick Corbin for Washington. Carne Asada's been kind of up and down, but he has a few good starts as of late. Patrick Corbin, kind of same thing, but he's either really great or what seems like terrible, and he's had more great than terrible as of late, so I'll give him a little bit of credit there. And it's funny, the only game that he sucked in was against Pittsburgh 2 starts ago. Like, we just talked about Pittsburgh not being that great of an offense. Well, they got to Patrick Corbin here. But this is going to come down to an offensive play for me. The Cubs losing 2 straight against Oakland and not performing offensively. I think that this is probably a decent spot for them here today. Corbin hasn't been all that great against Chicago. Last time he pitched against them, albeit it was last season, they scored 17 runs on the Washington. I think they had like 4 through the first few innings on him, so it was mostly the bullpen, but that just still can't be a great thing to keep in your mind, right? Carne Asada, in 28 plate appearances against the current guys in this team, he's got an expected WOBA of 310, which is better than Corbin, who has 130 plate appearances, 128, so nearly 130, and an expected WOBA of 388. So I think you have a pitching advantage as well as a bat advantage here for Chicago. For minus 160, is it super juiced? Yes, but it's the direction that I seem like I'm going in here. That total sitting at 8.5, it comes down to whether or not you think the Cubs offense is going to return to scoring a bunch of runs. And in this case against Corbin, I have no reason not to think they will. So yeah, I'll lean towards the over, but I would probably look at the Cubs and their team total and stuff before I do, like, the Nationals to be able to keep up with them, if that makes sense. All right, Houston taking on the Angels. Houston lost 2 of 3 against San Diego. The Angels coming off of a winning series, but it was against the White Sox. So let's take all of that with a grain of salt. On the mound for the Astros today is going to be Yusei Kikuchi, and then he's going up against Jose Suarez of the Angels here in this one. I'll say this LA team, not a very good, batting team at all in the last 30 days. Also not very good against lefties, whereas Houston does hit lefties very, very well. So there's a reason why this is minus 278. Maybe this should be one of the parlay piece throw-ins or something like that, because I could see the Braves, the Dodgers, and Houston, all those chalked plays today, all winning because they have good enough reason to. So I'll lean towards Houston, but it would be some sort of a parlay throw-in. I don't mind them on the run line, but like I always tell you guys, I really don't like laying a 1.5 or run and a half, if we're not getting plus money. And minus 130 right now on MGM, your best bet for asking the Astros to win by 2 runs after losing a series, like, it doesn't seem like the best of spots for me, but it is against the Angels, who they probably, I think they've only covered their plus 1.5, or if they were plus 1.5 in their last 10 games, they've covered it in 2 straight against the White Sox, so they won those, but also once before that, so once in that last 8 before. So yes, I guess you have a team trending against it, so maybe that helps the Houston rationale, but to me, I'd want to see a plus money next to that minus 1.5. Like, even the Cubs going up against the Nationals, right? They're big favorites too, but for minus 1.5, you're plus 130 right now. So I like that, but we don't have that case here in this case. So I'm going to lean towards Houston, but probably some sort of parlay throw-in. Total sitting at 8 runs. This would be much like I just talked about. I don't think that I want to rely on the Angels to kind of keep up with them, so maybe an Astros team total over is the best play here today. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you guys did enjoy, again, we have tons of content out, so if you're like, oh, bummed that this is the video's over and all that, we got tons of football content out and coming down the line as well. So appreciate the heck out of you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out.